How you doing, folks? Welcome to another episode of the DadBodBible Real Men Talk, where I get to chat with guys that I respect, or guys that can hold a good conversation about topics that I want to talk about. Today, I've got a good friend of mine on, Darragh McGeown. He's another trainer who's got very similar mindset to mine on a lot of topics. So I think today is going to be a pretty interesting conversation. It's going to be a COVID-free one, on all hopes, any fingers crossed anyway. But we'll see where it goes. Anyway, Darragh, do you want to give yourself a wee mention and introduce yourself to the people?
Yeah, so as Paul said, my name's Darragh McGeown. I am a gym owner and focus strength and conditioning in Lurgan. So I suppose that's where people would know me best from. I've also got South Shore Health and Wellbeing going, which is a side project aimed at building resilience and mental toughness in kids through the use of ecotherapy. So basically, anything in nature, anything nature induced, trying to get them into the outdoors and away from the screens and technology. So that's a wee intro on me.
So let's avoid the gym because, geez, I'm sick of talking about gyms. Everyone talks about gyms, but I really do want to delve into your venture, your new venture, because it's a topic that I'm very interested in, and it's a topic that I'm very passionate about myself, even though I don't do much about it. I do enjoy the outdoors myself, and I understand the resilience. And what made you start this in the first place?
So I suppose my Gaelic career finished there a couple of years ago through injury, and I could see sort of developing trends in the town of Lurgan, where I'm from, where it's the same sort of vicious cycle of you get kids through to maybe 15, 16 years old, and then you're lucky to pull maybe 3 or 4 of them through to senior football. And it's all a result of the same age bracket falling away to the social aspects that we have in Lurgan and every other town has, which is drink, drugs, whatever else. Now, we didn't have the opportunities that they had back then, and we don't have the opportunities that they have now. And I would just like to give something back to the sort of teens in the area, and I'm massively involved on a personal level myself with nature. I get out all the time, and I was thinking, why not just combine a passion and a vision together and see where it goes. And look, we didn't know that a global pandemic was coming, and if anything, our business plan as a result of this it's going to throw this enterprise, it's going to skyrocket it, because people are going to be needing it more than ever right now.
Sad thing you're actually saying that. I understand where you're coming from, but it's pretty sad that we'll have to actually say, that a business like yours is going to skyrocket simply because the social aspect of this.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, mate. It is. It's a sad reality, but I suppose the positive message that you can take from it is, over the last year, I'm sure you've seen it yourself from a fitness point of view, you've seen more families walking together on the roads and around the parks. You've seen people do stuff that they've never previously done. And, I think it's exposed what we really crave, and that's connection, that's nature, that's togetherness. Now, people aren't missing out on the materialistic shit anymore. They've realised that it holds no real value. It might be monetary value, but it holds no sort of spiritual value. And I think people have found out now the last year that what really matters to them, and they should definitely be looking at continuing this trend going forward.
And so tell me, is it mainly young males, or are you doing females? Is it a mixture of both, or what is it?
We started out aiming at the teens, right across the board. So male and female teens was the initial niche, because, like I said, you could see them going down paths that we all went down ourselves, but at the time we had nobody to really guide us out of it, bar ourselves, and what we all found out the hard way. We all, like, a high percentage of people go down the route of drinking drugs and stuff. So we had nobody to really pull us out of it. But we started aiming it off at teenagers and stuff like that. But parents started coming on the walks as as guides to help me and a couple of leaders along. We needed a certain adult to child ratio, and as a result of that, the parents started saying, we would love to do this. Me and my mates would love to do this. As people in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s. So we ended up, we've opened it right out now, and we're taking adult groups and everything. Now, obviously, at the minute with the restrictions, everything's up the left. We've managed to get ourselves funding over the last year, and we need to be seen to be using that funding. So we're running a lot of like mindfulness courses and yoga courses, but they're all done by Zoom. And yes, it's helping people, but it's going against our message, which is, get away from the screen. We're like, I can't understand. I know I don't want to go off on conspiracy theories straight away, but I am so convinced that this is a war on health, mate. It's a war on health. It's a war on spirituality,
There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. And here's the thing. You mentioned the word spirituality. Now it's getting a bit better, but automatically people think woo-woo, oh, the scientists, if not scientists backed, if it can't be proven by science, therefore it's not good for you, therefore it's not worth investigating. The reality is, we know that alternative medicines were simply known as medicine until the Rockefellers came in the 50s and changed the pharmaceutical companies. So there's definitely a disconnect in society today. And I think it's because we've removed the spirituality element of humanity.
Health doesn't sell.
I talked to Ben Davis the other day, and we're talking about, no, it doesn't. The big farmers don't make money out of us being healthy, do they?
No. So take from what you will. The bottom line is health does not sell. It doesn't. It's wolf. And the quote the Diaz brothers. It's wolf tickets that you're being sold. Why can you not take a holistic approach to your health? Why can you not look at boosting your immune system the natural ways? Why are we relying on strangers, on government figures to sell us a magic pill that doesn't exist? That's sort of where I'm coming from.
Gail, my partner, she is the ultimate hippie, and she's into essential oils at the moment. And I was taking the piss clean out of her about them. Genuinely, you know how screwed my hips are. Everyone doesn't, because I keep on talking about it. But she made up this oil. I don't know what the hell it is, but she put it into a carrier oil. I rubbed it onto my hips, and literally 3-4 hours later, I was squatting for the first time in months. Like, when I say squatting, I mean I was able to do bodyweight squats without pain. I have to sort of fall in the seat now. I was squatting, lifting my leg up higher than I've ever been lifted for. It's blown me away just how much of an effect it's had. Now listen, see if someone says to me, show me the science. I'm going to say, no, I don't have the science. And to be honest, I don't really care about the science. I know how I feel. I know what level of pain I'm in. And I know the difference that made to me. And then if you want to go science, well, apparently the essential oils are being brought into hospitals now because it's the only thing that's killing the MSRA bug. Yeah. So there's papers out on that.
If you look at the majority of modern medicine, you will see where it all comes from. The majority of it is from plants and herbal properties. And just recently, we were out doing a field study with a mate who is he's a bushcraft expert, and went around Peatlands Park, and we took the old medicinal books with us, and he was identifying plants and stuff for me, and showing me where traditional medicines have now been overshadowed by pharmaceutical companies, and the big pharma are practically rewriting the history of medicine. They're trying to shut down all these herbal medicines.
That's the sad. They say what you said. They're rewriting. We're in a level of the world society where our intelligence is higher than it's ever been before. But if we're such intelligent people, how come we only accept something that's backed by a certain element of science? Because let's be honest, the science these days, science is bought. I don't care if you believe it or not. We look at the current climate we're in, the amount of scientists that are spouting one certain side of a narrative, and they also happen to have received 200, 300 million from another certain person who happens to be the leading expert in the world, even though he's no scientific degrees or qualifications. So, like,
me and Stacey were talking about this today. It's people, the majority of people, even with the knowledge and the sort of wealth of intelligence that they have, they want to go down the route of the comfortable narrative. They don't want to expose themselves to the hard truth because it upsets their balance of life. To me, a lot of people prefer to live in fairy tale land because they know it's comfortable. but they don't want to face the harsh realities that the world is at times a bad and a sinister place.
I think if you go back 1,000 years ago, life was very short. It was rough. It was hard. It was ruthless. It was out of balance. Do you know? And then we came to today, and at one point where there was probably some sort of semblance of balance, but now we've went the complete other side of the spectrum, in the sense that the bacteria we now know about, we know all about cures, we know how to manage a lot of things. Our life expectancies went up, but our ability to cope with traumatic events, our ability to cope with what life throws at us, has come so low, and it's been conditioned. I definitely believe it's been conditioned over the last 20, 30 years through Facebook, social media, newspapers, whatever, the media. Yeah. It's all making us stupider. You know, like I said to Ben the other day, why did they ban the psychedelic drugs but keep the mind-opening drugs, but keep the ones that suppress our consciousness or suppress our vibrational energy? Why are they legal, but the ones that raise them are illegal? Like that alone should quite be questioned.
Terence McKenna has the best quote on that there. He says, psychedelics are the antidote to fear. So you cannot put fear into someone who is fully spiritually aware, you know, where they have accepted that we're literally just in a realm of consciousness now. And I'm a firm believer that we're just experiencing one state. We're going to go somewhere else. This is just a certain level of experience that we're having right now. So,
tell me this. This is something I've been asking a lot of people. Hold on, get this dog in the bed. Jackson, bed. He's doing my head in. I was diehard atheist, right? Mm-hmm. COVID has made me reevaluate my beliefs, and I know I'm not the only one. Like literally, I know off the top of my head 7 diehard atheists as hard as me. Yeah. Like, you know what I was like? I was, fuck you, Jesus. I don't give a fuck. It's a load of bullshit.
Yeah.
I have now come to the realization that spirituality is more important than physicality. Do you know, you need to be. Well, I who said it? We're not humans. We're conscious. David Icke, is it? Think we're consciousness having a human experience.
You're going down rabbit holes if you're starting to quote David Icke.
Listen, the man. I always say, like, see if you're being ridiculed to the point he is.
Yeah,
you're over the target. You're definitely over the target, because he's been shown to be right. Or he's been shown to be wrong in a lot of things. Like, let's not deny it. But I think the problem with the media is the media latched on to what he said was wrong, but he said a lot of things that are right.
He's closer to the truth than a lot of people. And on the religious thing, you're onto something there, because again, we have talked about me and Stacey have talked about this before. People who before we mightn't have that, like say religious heads who we might not have previously had that much in common with, they are seeing this play out exactly the same way as what we are. They believe that this vaccine and stuff is, you know, mark of the devil and all this here. Now, without going that far, religion is it's a social construct put in place to give people some level of control. And what we're experiencing at the minute is just total and utter chaos. So I suppose if you're clutching on to religion or you're clutching on to spirituality, whatever you want to delve into or whatever you want to call it, I think we're all just trying to grab on to whatever bit of normality that we can. And religion is a sort of a perfect way of going about that, because at the minute, see with current society and with people arguing over the stuff they're arguing about, we literally don't have any control anymore, and without control, it's just pure chaos. You know, it's like we aren't built for constant chaos. You know, it's if you're to go back and look at times gone by, chaos doesn't serve well in society.
I think what's happened to us is, as humans, we've evolved too fast. You know, we are not designed. Our mindset, our structure, our head, it's not designed to cope with 7.8 billion on a planet. We're designed to work in tribes of 150 people where everyone knows each other's names, where everyone knows who everyone is. We have this sense of belonging. And through no fault of anyone, it's just like the way the world is. We're being separated. We're being broke apart. And I don't think our mind can handle it.
have you read Tribe, Sebastian Younger? It's
I think I have actually, yeah, I think I have.
it's similar to Lost Connections in terms of the basis of humanity is all about, you know, tribalism and having a community built around you, and that's the thing. You're talking first there about accessibility and how quick we have access to things. We have access to we food on our fingertips right away, so you've automatically lost that instinct of having to go out and hunt for your food and whatever else. You've literally food available at any time, so you're never under any threat for that. And now, because of the internet and because of technology, we have information on our fingertips, which is blowing our minds. We're not built biologically. We're not built to cope to fathom all of this information.
That's 100% correct. It's like we've evolved too fast. We've just literally evolved too fast, and we don't like. I think what's happened with us all
we're devolved. We're devolving.
Yeah, we're devolving. That's a great way of saying we are. We're no longer what humans were. You know, humans.
Yeah.
We've been divided by society to the point where we don't trust anyone, and this lack of trust. That is one of the fundamental aspects of being human. You know, if you look at the tribes in Africa and the tribes in the Amazon rainforest, they still live the way we lived 1,000, 2,000 years ago. They know where they are. They trust everyone, their families. It's not like one person has the child and raises the child. The whole tribe raises the children. And it's that sense of belonging, sense of safety. Right now, we've got everything we need to touch our fingertips, except that one human need of where do I belong? Where do I fit in? What is my purpose in life? And I think when you have that on a constant basis, and then you've got the social media aspect bombarding us with just more and more bullshit, more and more like, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you need this, the marketing pushing us. It messes with our minds. And if you're a weak individual, not a weak individual, that's the wrong word. If you're an insecure individual because of your past experience, whatever, that is destructive.
Yeah. Well, you only need to look at the biological. So we're going down a rabbit hole here with sort of feminization of men and stuff.
You know what? We need to go down rabbit holes. These rabbit holes need to be explored.
Yeah, but like this isn't conspiracy theory shit, because scientists are actually starting to look into it now. And it's not just men; it's women too. Our whole biological structure is starting to change as a result of environmental factors. So, you know, the water supply, the food that we're eating, exposure to plastics, exposure to aerosols and shampoos, and it's all down to estrogenics. So basically, I first heard about this when I was coaching in Liverpool. I was taking a lady who worked for a bottled water company, and she pointed out my water bottle on the gym floor, and she started going on about BPA free. And I was like, yeah, I'm nearly sure it is. And she looked at it and she's like, no, it's not. You need to watch out for this. And I was like, need to watch out for that. And we're going back here maybe 12 years. So this was all new information to me. And she says, I'm going to tell you something now that you might think I'm full of shit, but she previously worked in London, moved to Liverpool. She says, Darragh, there is more female hormones, or there's that many female hormones in the London water supply that it's biologically changing men in London. And I was like, what? I just thought that she was complete tinfoil hatter, but I started looking into it, and I started looking into estrogenics and the amount that we are exposed to. And water supply is just one factor. Like the other ones mentioned, the food, the red numbers that are in our food, the plastics that our food comes wrapped in, and then exposure to the likes of like shampoos and aerosols and things like that we spray straight into our lymph nodes. Like they have estrogen properties in them, so they're biologically changing us as humans. And you know, it's not just males that are suffering as a result of reduced testosterone levels. It's women too, and women need testosterone too, you know, for muscle, for fat distribution, for mood and psychological well-being. So it's changing us as a species. But I actually bought a book called Estrogenics, and the fact that stood out to me was men in the 1940s had double the amount of testosterone that the modern man has now. Double.
I actually said this to who was I talking to? I was talking to someone the other day, and I actually turned and said the current situation we're in today would not have happened if our grandfathers had been the men of today.
Yeah.
Because they would not, they were regimented in their beliefs. They were principled.
Yeah.
They stood up and they were willing to, like, look at the amount of people, look
Yes.
at the amount of men went to war in World War II and just sacrificed their lives so we could live this freedom. And now we're, as men, it should be our job. And I genuinely believe, as a dad, I'm a father too, and look after 2 other kids. I need to be willing to put my life on the line to fight for these. And that's why I've lost a lot of friends, because I've been very outspoken about what's happening, and I've lost a lot of friends because of it. But
I'm the same. Paul, there has never been a better time to enforce a tyrannical campaign on the modern man as now. And
you would think it's a plan, wouldn't you?
Well, I'll say nothing, but no, seriously. But you only need to look at I don't know. Do you want to go into the toxic masculinity issue?
Listen, we're 100%. Let me explain something about you. You were saying it before, because we're going to. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You said something earlier on there is like about food, and you were talking. I won't bring it into the kids. You know how to go out hunting. I can hunt. I can pick some food. I can, but I'm nowhere near as skilled as my mate Martin, for example.
Yep.
That's a primordial skill that we have lost. This is, and like we're watching, was it The Lost Kingdom? Gail and I were watching The Lost Kingdom, and it was the Vikings. The girls were like going, right, I'm going away, and she walked into the forest and for a few days, whatever. Can you imagine a normal modern day man deciding, right, I'm going to go and live in the mountain for 3 days, no food, no nothing, no shelter. I'm going to be able to build myself a shelter. I'm going to be able to feed myself. Going to be able to heat myself. I'm going to start a fire. They would die in minutes. And this is something that people realize. But here, listen, my mate Martin's massive in this. Yeah. Mad Max was set in 2021. Yeah. We're coming to that age, that year, where things go shit wrong. Like, no one, if you had told me in 2018, 2019, that in 2020 we were going to spend a full year under house arrest, you'd have laughed. You'd have just turned around and said, wise up to yourself. If you'd have been saying things we're saying today, you'd just been laughed off the thing. There's something coming on, and there's lots of rumors about the food shortages.
Of course.
How are people going to cope when we've been led by a hand led by the government for so many years that we've lost the ability to look after ourselves? We may think we're men, we're not. We're just robots.
There's serious talk of the economy crashing and inflation going through the roof and food shortages and stuff like that. So between me, like, fucking judge me whatever way you want here, or whoever's listening, but between me and a couple of real close friends, we have got the heads together on starting to grow our own produce and starting to really think about things in case the shit really does hit the fan, because I'm not going to be caught wanting. And I guarantee you 99.9% of modern society, if it did go to say it went down the lines of no food, total blackout, and it went down to old school bushcraft skills, everyone would perish. There would be no survivors. Like, you know what I mean?
It'd be Mad Max.
Yeah.
It'd be Mad Max. People be fighting each other. You'd be Roman gangs, and because desperate people resort to desperate measures. And this is something that I think we need to be aware of. Like, people, I'll go back to what I just said. People thought 2020 would never happen.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we still not learning from experiences and realizing, well, fuck, okay, maybe 2020 won't be the year Mad Max, but maybe 2021 might be the year that I might want to learn the bushcrafts required in case it does turn out to be Mad Max. It's a skill. It's a proper life skill to learn how to look after yourself.
It has to be a learning experience. I said on another lad's podcast there a couple of weeks ago, if you don't learn lessons in 2020, you'll never learn lessons. You're a fucking idiot. It's time to wake up and realize, mate, I am ruling absolutely nothing out going forward here. If the government can switch off the lights in our businesses for a year, they can do anything. Like, if me and you were to sit and have this conversation a year ago, and we were to rhyme off a list of things that is now in place, you would call me fucking daft. You say that's never going to happen. But what has happened is we as a society have bent over and we've just been shafted, and we've took it. There's only a few people that have been vocal, like me and yourself included. And as a result of being vocal, we've been ostracized from members of the public, from our friend circle. And it's a sad, sad time when the people that are trying to get some form of truth out there and some form of realization to the whole situation, that we are the ones that are being ridiculed.
People don't want truth. They want safety. They want semblance of safety. They want to believe that whatever they do, the government's going to look after them.
Yeah.
And like, what I can't understand is, when have the governments ever looked after us?
Well, how can you live? How can you live in the north of Ireland and think about a Tory government protecting you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm from a nationalist area, and people are lapping up some of the shit that the Tories are saying, and I'm going, have you suddenly forgot your recent history?
It's crazy times, isn't it? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
No.
You were also saying something there about, the bushcrafts and the kids not having any skills. Do you think if this had happened in 1990, do you think we would be those kids today, or do you think we'd have more resilience? I know it's a hindsight story, and it's like, oh, in my young days, no, in my days, I was stronger. But do you think we'd have just been as broken, or do you think the prevalence of social media has made the young men and women today so insecure, so unable to think and fend for themselves, and just scared to stand out of the crowd and actually just follow the crowd? Do you think we'd have more?
That's social media and technology has amplified everything, and again, it goes back to the sort of info war thing that we were talking about. You've got this access of just readily available information at your fingertips. We never had that. Like, I grew up in the 90s. You grew up in the 60s or 70s, did you? I grew up as an 80s baby. Grew up in the 90s, and I fucking loved every minute of it. Like, my childhood was spent outdoors. My mum and dad couldn't get me into the house at night time. All I remember about was long summers, building huts and bases, and all the mischievous shit in between, and football flat out. We literally couldn't got us out of the park and out of playing fields. And now kids are in.
You're describing any guy my age or age is going to remember this, and it upsets me. Like, I look at that Gail's kid Rory, he's on the Xbox, and the Xbox simply because it's the only way I communicate with my friends today.
Yeah.
This is where the kids are in a really bad position. Xbox and that screen time, it's not healthy for your mind. But what else is not healthy for your mind? Not having any interaction with your own peers. Now, my two kids and Lucia, she's lucky that the three of them have got each other. So they've been lockdown hasn't been as severe on them because they're able to play. And Rory can play with her as well. But he's a wee lad. He's a 9-year-old wee lad. He needs 9-year-old the rough and tumble, and you can see the frustrations coming out of him. And he's a 9-year-old kid. It's not his fault. This is happening throughout the whole of the world. There are children, generations of children, who are going to be badly damaged. The worst one I can see is 1-year-olds pretend masks because that's all they've been exposed to. That is their reality, and that's a really scary.
If someone people like,
who are good.
Yeah, no, you're just cutting off. If people like me and you, with sort of as much life experience as we have, and as well versed at conversation between each other, if we're struggling with connection and communicating, think about how bad those kids are in their developmental years, where they haven't even learned the ability of expressing their emotions and their feelings properly, and all of a sudden they're getting their lives put on hold for which looks like the possibility of 2 years here. That is like we're going to see the fallout, the mental health fallout of this in years to come. Like, and that's why I am convinced that lockdown is going to do way more damage than what this virus ever will.
100%. What I can't understand is how so many other people can't see this. It's fine to turn around and go, COVID is real and you're all deniers. There's no one denying that there's people dying, but it's the flow of information, the one-sidedness of the information that you've got to be questioning, and
I think it comes down to a couple of, maybe 2 or 3 different factors, right? One is legitimate fear. If you've been laying up and you've been exposed to constant mainstream news the whole time, so if people aren't leaving the house and all they're doing on the hour every hour is watching the news, they're going to be totally fearful. So they're banning that fear. The second reason that I think is the emotional blackmail that the government have been very, very crafty at doing. All these poster campaigns, making people feel guilty about meeting a friend for a coffee, putting a photo of a stranger on a poster saying that you're responsible for his or her death. That's totally fucked up. It's totally wrong. And then the third factor then coming in is people are being bribed by the government with handouts. The likes of all these furlough schemes and all these employment grants that they're giving out. People are essentially being gagged and bound to keep quiet during all this. So maybe they're going to have to pay it back. Exactly. They don't realize that. They don't realize that yet.
There was one of the most scary things I heard was when you consider the US dollar is still like the gold standard of like exchange and money. Everything's like the petrodollar. 40% of all dollars in circulation today were printed in 2020. 40%.
Yeah.
Like, what does that indicate about inflation?
Did you listen to the lady who rang into the radio station talking about the girl from Belfast? No, she was an economist.
No.
It's doing the rounds. I'll send you it after here because she rang into a radio station today, or it was obviously this week sometime, and she started to say the exact same thing. And she says what nobody is talking about is how the stock market is shaping up and how the route that the economy's taken. And she said she's been an economist for 12 years, and she says it is going towards a dark, dark place. And she goes, to put this into layman's terms, says the price of a loaf will be about £3 or £4, and the £20 that you've got in your pocket will be worth a couple of pounds, basically.
My best mate's an economist in the Assembly, and about a month and a half ago, I said to him, "It's like, how bad is it?" And he goes, "Bad. We are fucked." F-U-C-T. He just said we're fucked. Yeah. They can listen. People can bury their head in the sand. People can scream and shout and virtue signal about, my granddad died. You don't understand what it's like. I get it. It's terrible. But here's the reality. In 2018, 2019, 2017, people died the entire year. But death was not. Why did we not fear the flu? Why did we not fear the cold? Why has 95% of the flu and cold disappeared this year?
Why does one death overshadow another? You know what I mean? Have we suddenly forgot about cancer? Have we suddenly forgot about heart disease?
If you bring this up, you are just being a bad man. You're not, and this is where we've got to as a society. Yeah. We can't have open, honest discussion simply because the social media platforms prevent us from doing so, prevent people who are 100,000 scientists and doctors cannot be wrong.
Yeah.
100,000, over 100,000 now, cannot be wrong. But yet, because they do not go with the mainstream narrative, they're wrong. And if you dare use them as an example, you're shunned at and you're laughed at as if you're somehow a lesser species. You're just of lower intelligence than me. And I just look at people and I go, I mightn't have a degree. I mightn't be able to look at scientific papers and read it, but I'm fucking intelligent. I'm 43 years old. I've went through a lot of life experiences. I've built businesses from the ground up with no incentive, no help from anyone. I'm not stupid. I can see my own eyes, and I think that's the problem. I think a lot of people have lost the ability to look at their own eyes and look with their own eyes and see the world through their own eyes.
And I'm convinced too that COVID has give people the perfect excuse to go around and take all. It's a manifestation of a lot of personal problems and a lot of pain and fear that people have in their own lives, and they're running around taking it out on random strangers.
And what people don't realize is that fear and that insecurity has been cultivated for 20, 30 years by the governments through the lack of funding, through homelessness, through food shortages, unemployment, recessions. But yet they've always had enough money to fund the military. They've always had enough money for wars. They've always had enough money to fund their friends. They've always had enough money to privatize the things we need. Railway, the transport, the NHS, schooling.
The best thing about it is they probably don't even know they're doing it. It could be a subconscious thing that they don't even realize that they're so full of fear. But whatever is being triggered in their brain, it's being manifested in the wrong way. And then you hit on something too a minute ago about the virtue signaling. That has to be that's the biggest crime that has on this planet the last few years. It is a disgrace.
But the virtue signaling is a byproduct of the environment.
Yeah.
Do you know, when you have people who are insecure, don't feel like they fit in, and they're suddenly given a voice and they're given support, loads of likes, that is going to bring all that trauma out, and they're going to use what do? We're a reflection of ourselves. You know, we reflect on the other people how we feel about ourselves, and you can see it. And I look at people and I'm going, whoa. You can't, like, I get angry. There's times I lose the plot, the Sunday World or the Sunday whatever the world, news world, everywhere.
Another example is the Black Lives Matter bandwagon. I have never seen as many rich white kids drowning in their own guilt. Like,
if you can't see that for what it is, you're an idiot. There's a movement which is great. I support that movement. You know, Black Lives Matter, but the problem is, white lives matter as well. Asian lives matter as well. Pakistani, Indian, all lives matter. And now that's like a white supremacist thing. All lives matter.
There was white people in America going around taking a knee in front of random black people in the street and getting their mates to video it, and they were going, "I'm so sorry for this and that." And I am going, it is fucking painstaking to watch. Like, how insecure are you and how vulnerable are you that you need to show your social media? Like, our generation, like, we are now being asked to apologize for stuff for years of oppression that is nothing. Like, I don't know about you, but I've treated anybody I've ever seen, I've treated them on a personal level the same. I don't need to go around fucking putting black squares on my Instagram.
I hate some black people, I hate some white people, I hate some Asian people. I love some black people, love some white people, love some Asian people. I don't love them because of the color of skin, or I hate them because of the color of skin. I hate them because of the person they are.
Yeah.
They're either a dickhead or they're not. You're like, what's wrong with religion? Don't be a dick. That just is the simplest way. Don't be a dick. The latest one today was the actor who does the black teacher's voice, I think, in Simpsons.
Oh, Jesus. I seen it. Shira, yeah.
Like, that goes off racism. Well, tell you what, well done, you. Let's scream this guy out of a job because he's not black. He's done the voice for the last 30 years, and like, there's been a problem. But now there's a problem because you're not representing, because white people are taking black people's jobs. No, they're not. That's madness.
Cancel culture. Cancel culture is a fucking virus in itself. Did you see the Gina Carano one as well?
Absolutely fucking disgraceful.
So
like, it was, your man had the same opinion, but because he's a leftist and she was a Trump supporter. This is like the whole culture we're living in. Let's get one thing as society and we'll just lambast them and just.
Did you see what Trump's administration done for their defense in court? No, the way he was brought up on charges of inciting violence. His judicial team got like all these snippets together that the left have said about him over the last year, and they were talking about blowing up the White House. They were talking about taking him behind like, even Biden came out and says, "I wish it was like back in school. I would take him behind the gym and give him a like." You know what I mean? Is this stuff not being reported either?
I actually do find myself like, I actually spoke to Andy McKenzie's one keeps me like pretty. He called me out in my shit and he sent me messages. You need to calm down, because I find myself getting angrier and angrier. Not that it's just the virtue signalers who think, oh, I've got a science degree, I can read a paper. Suddenly this makes you an expert in life, in social economics, like in social situations. Like, it's not about COVID. It's about the whole thing. I've used the analogy of a lot of people who are focused on that one thing is like a jigsaw, and they're just looking at one piece of the jigsaw and they're trying to solve what the whole picture is, but by looking at one piece. That is what the industry, the problem is today. We're not taking social, we're not taking the economic, we're not taking the psychological elements that are as a direct response of the governments.
Yeah.
And because of that, there's
what
a lot
they're
of
doing is they're also citing like intellectual superiority over the likes of me and you. So say we're a gym owner. We've lost our business the last 12 months, and we have a right, as a human, you've a right to protest and you've a right to express your views. And the way they shut that down is by saying, oh, he's just a gym owner, what does he know? But even if you send them on peer-reviewed studies. If you link them up to the smartest people in the world, like the likes of Dolores Cahill and people like that there, and all these informed doctors, and they just go, yeah, but like look at her, look at his or her credentials. They've been struck off, and I'm like, why do you think they've been struck off? Because they're going against the grain.
The other one is she's just right wing. Especially in Northern Ireland, this is, like a lot of people were from nationalism, like the socialist ideal.
Yeah,
I have actually went off the socialist ideal, to be honest. I have this 2020 has turned me more right wing. I'm more conservative in my beliefs, because the way I'm looking, like, see the conservative beliefs, at least they've stood for something, and it's been a continuous message. I might never agree with it, but. No, don't talk about Tories. I'm talking about the conservative ideology.
Yeah, ideology.
The ideology, not the party. The ideologies. I'm talking about
the Jordan Peterson school of thought.
Yes. Yeah. There's an element there that you have to consider. Like, why to the left? It's like the woke society. It's the whatever's fashionable today is what we'll champion. And we'll just change our mind tomorrow, and then we'll push that narrative, and the media is going to back us, and we're going to have more kids screaming this. And these 20-year-olds, no offense to them, they've no life experience. They may think they've got degrees and knowledge, but they've no life experience. And life experience is the most important thing in these elements, because the more you experience for yourself and the more you've went through, the more you can actually harness from your own mind and go, nah, this isn't making sense. It's not all book read, it's actual experience led.
I've two lads from Darragh who I know pretty well, and they would be sort of lefty socialist. And I messaged them a couple of years ago, and I says, lads, I'm really, really concerned here about the way leftism and stuff is going. And I cited a few cases in modern society, and then I goes, look, you're actually pushing it that far that you're turning people like myself more centralist. So I wouldn't say I'm conservative. I wouldn't say I'm left. And the beauty about, I know it's this. I never sit on the fence with very much in my life, because I'm quite outspoken. But when it comes to politics, I like keeping myself in the middle, and I like pointing out bullshit that I can see on both sides. And that's the beauty about, once you align yourself to a political party, or once you align yourself to a certain ideology, you're screwed, because you have to go along with that, whether you agree with that in your heart or not. And even if you don't agree with it in your heart, you have to lie that you do.
I don't agree with that, in the sense that it's only been the last 10 years that this is like, if you were like, let's take American Dem Republic. If you were a Democrat 20 years ago, 25 years ago, you could have went, I'm a Democrat, but see what the Republicans are saying. There's more to that. Now, if you dare agree with the right or the left in any way, if you're a leftist and you dare agree with anything anyone from the right has said, you're just cancelled.
Yeah.
But how can we govern? But like, it's almost like I don't think people realize like the danger of this and how manufactured this is. It's been slowly but surely chipped away at, week upon week, month, year after year, to get us to the point where we can't have open dialogue. You're either on Team A or you're on Team B. And if you're on Team A, if Team B says black is white, even though it isn't true, you have to agree. It just doesn't make sense. And we're in a position where I think our future generations, remember, these leftists, these kids that are all championing on the masks and 2 masks, 4 masks and all this, they're the future.
Yeah.
These are the people, the rule makers of the future. What is our society going to be like?
Like, someone who I look up to massively is Bernadette Davlin, and I was at a podcast a couple of years ago where Blind Boy was doing it, and she was answering questions at the end, and she would have had a big sort of leftist socialist following, and obviously still will, but there was a couple of girls asked her questions, and I could tell straight away the direction that the girl wanted them to go. The first question was about the feminist movement. So Bernadette Davlin spent the whole couple of hours talking about how the people in Darragh struggle for civil rights, and a wee girl put up her hand and saying, like, what was your involvement in the feminist movement back then, and what was your contribution? And she just says, listen, I was fighting for an oppressed people. I didn't have time to segregate them into male or female or whatever else. Says we were fighting as a people against oppression, and everybody just erupted and clapping their hands. And then the next wee girl put her hand up and she said, Bernadette, you're my hero. I just want to ask you, please do me one favour. Will you please run for a party in politics again? You need to be the voice. And she just says, if you feel so passionately about it, why don't you do it yourself? Says, you're like, Bernadette Devlin's in her 70s. That wee girl was maybe in her early 20s, and she's looking to pass on the responsibility to someone else. And that's my school of thought on all this here. People in Ireland especially, they're more concerned about far left ideals over in America and stuff like that, and they haven't even got their own shit sorted out at home. They can't even sort out, their own lives.
I think the problem with our society is we have been fractured to the point where it showed, COVID exposed it, you could not agree with the other side. It's just like, and the gulf in what it showed to me was the gulf between those in power and us is so wide, but we can't see that. We're still stuck in the cultural orange and green, even though those in orange and green in power are all getting their 70 grand, are all getting 6 to 25 to 30 grand in expenses, they're all getting their chauffeur-driven cars and their nice houses, getting paid, not having to worry about jobs, not having to worry about the restrictions.
Yeah,
they're living a different life, but they're using the inbuilt the innate hatred inside us. It's just battered into us from a child. Yeah. And I don't know how we can't counter this, because we can say all this stuff, but the reality is the cultures we live in is still breeding that hate.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know what's going to happen? I have never heard as many people this year say to me about how disgusted they are with the likes of Sinn Féin's response to all this. Sinn Féin fought for years, nationalists fought for years to get equal rights and get the opportunities that we have today. And now more than ever, in Lurgan anyway, there's more young Catholic business owners than ever before. Sinn Féin have done absolutely nothing there. It's been their silence has been deafening. They just want to align themselves with the South. They just, whatever way the South is going, that's the way they want to sort of put their political message across. And the people feel let down here. People feel let down by them. And I know as soon as it comes to voting time again, though, people forget about that and they'll start fucking voting for green and orange again. And that's not the way it should be. You should be voting for people out of moral values and what your belief system is, not just not for orange or green anymore.
But is it just like every political party? It's two-party state. It's like DUP, Sinn Féin. How do you oust them? I don't understand how. Like the likes of, like, I was doorman for years. I worked with guys from the Shankill, guys from fucking the village, guys from staunchly loyalist and unionist areas. Yeah. And I had more in common with them than I did with the people in power.
Yeah.
The people who are meant to represent me. And it's the same with them. And this is what we need to understand. We need to realize that Sammy from the Shankill and Paddy from the Falls, they're both going through the exact same struggles. They're worried about their kids. They're worried about their job. They're worried about their housings. They're worried about can they have enough money to feed their kids. Can they go on holiday? The fear, the hatred they have from the people in the Falls, the people in the Shankill, the other side, is basically built through fear, a narrative of fear that's been pushed in us. And we're just using Northern Ireland because it's our own experience. But you go everywhere, Muslim and Hindu, or Muslim and Christian, and black and white, and it's always divide and conquer ethos. And no matter how many times we rationally speak about this, the emotional side of us takes it. Because remember, our actions are dictated by our emotions. 96% of our actions on a daily basis are emotionally based. Only 5 to 6% is used in a logical, rational mind. So we have to somehow, I think we have to get people in power who see the people as one.
Yeah.
But we're scared to do that.
Yeah.
Any party that's ever came about that's about unity is always put down because by both sides of like Labour and Conservative, DUP, Sinn Féin, because they are an existential threat to their ruling class, and that's what they want. They want to be in power, and the more people realize this, and I can actually see more and more people waking up to the fact that the people, those in power, are not there for us; they're there to control us.
That's it.
And Gail and I don't have disagreements in this, but I do believe that something is going to happen by the people. I think there's too much information coming out, and now we're at a point where we're at a precipice. People are reaching at different points because people's businesses and life experience are different. Our businesses are being affected differently. Those in furlough don't want to rock the boat, but I'd say a lot on furlough are following the rules because they don't want to rock the boat. But in 6 months' time, when their job's gone because their workforce closed, then they're going to be starting coming out, and then the people in power will have to answer for what they've done, because there's 3,000 people controlling 7.8 billion. Like the numbers. I actually always remember A Bug's Life and the cockroaches on top. They're looking at all the ants, and it's a very profound message where they turn around, they're slobbering, and your man, one of the laid cockroaches, and elbows the stupid one beside him, goes, "You need to shut up because you don't realize they've got the power. They just don't realize it." Yeah. And that's us. We are the ants. We're the workers. We're the ones on about keeping them happy. Blinded by social media, blinded by celebrity lifestyle, blinded by all these distractions that are put there purposely to keep us dumbed down, keep our energy low. Here's drugs, here's heroin, here's drink, here's cigarettes. No, you can't have tobacco, you can't have grass, you can't have LSD, you can't have mushroom, you can't have DMT, you can't have ayahuasca. All these are spirit medicines. These in the Amazon, that DMT, it's a spirit medicine. It cures addiction. And addiction is crucial to keep this society going the way they want to keep it going. That's my opinion anyway.
How can you convince someone to get out of the matrix when they don't even know they're living in it? That's the issue.
I spoke about this. Have you used the VR system, the Oculus Quest? No. I've got an Oculus Quest, and everyone's the same. See, when you put it on, the world we live in today no longer exists. I mean, I'll tell this story. I've told this story a couple of times. I'll tell you it because I haven't told you it. There's a game called Beat Saber, which is like you've got these two sabers and you're just cutting blocks. It's addictive as hell. It's like a Tetris type game, very addictive. But there's these like see-through boxes that come and you have to move out of the way and move out of the way. And there's a 360 version of it where you're like this and you're like this. And I was so enthralled in the game. And I seen this block coming and I just went, and I thought I died. I literally thought I died because the block came at me and I was like, I now actually know how I would react if I walked in front of a bus and just realized my last seconds. And
did it feel like that moment in a dream where you're falling off a bike or off a cliff? Or
I'll get Gail and you can ask Gail. I had to sit down for over 10 minutes. I took the VR off, sat it down and sat my hands in my head, or my head in my hand, shaking. Properly shaken. I had a proper adrenaline dump. I was so in that world that this world did not exist. And then and it happens so many times, like I've punched walls through a boxing game, but you take it off, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I'm here.
Simulation theory. Elon Musk and all spoke about
it. That's the simulation theory.
Yeah.
I'm convinced we live in the Matrix now. that VR system showed me how easy it is to fool the human mind. Here's me putting on a VR system, knowing I'm putting on a VR system, knowing it's not real, and I am there. Who's to say that we're not a speck of our universe is a speck of dust on a massive chair in another world somewhere? That's so big and infinite we don't realize it. And
it is completely. But what you're experiencing is a sort of electronic version of what mushrooms would give you. You're like the likes of psilocybin, DMT, acid, whatever psychedelics you're into. When I've ever experienced any really fucking solid effects on psilocybin, on any mushroom, I've always got that feeling of I think it's sympathy it's called, where you're part of a much greater existence. So like people say all the time, oh, what's it like? Do you get all these messages? And no, but you're well aware that there's a hell of a lot more that exists around you, and you feel like I feel like I'm literally like a micro dot on a much grander scheme.
That reminds me of the time one time I done DMT. I was actually with Gail, and I remember we were sitting at the corner sofa, and I opened my eyes, and she was doing this like grating, like a sort of like a spinal wave.
Yeah.
And from her hip came this rainbow, and the rainbow like came towards me like that. And I watched this thing hit me, right? And as it touched my leg, I went, cling, and I started, and I was moving with her. And then I went into this completely different realm where I was, it was a ball. I was looking down at this ball of snow. When I say snow, do you know the interference you get on TVs when
Yeah.
they, like, TV channels are over, like in the early 80s? It'd be like, like the white noise stuff. Yeah. I was seeing this ball like an earth shape of all that snow, and every single tiny pixel was someone in the universe or an experience in the universe. And then I was seeing me as that. I no longer existed. I was part of that grand scheme of everything. And this moment came about that I realized that I am only this one wee tiny, 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 insignificant dot that makes up the entire universe, the entire fifth realm, shall we say, the fifth dimension. And it made me realize that was one of the most profound experiences I've ever had. And I know people are listening who've never done this type of stuff and just going, what are they on about? But until you've actually experienced it, I try to tell people, telling someone what DMT or mushrooms is like trying to explain the color purple to a blind man.
Yeah.
You know, it's experienced.
And maybe for anybody that's like actually thinking about going into psychedelics, I don't think there's a better place to start than mushrooms, because you can go soft and you can go mellow with them, and they can be really, really you need to be careful, obviously, the dosage and what ones you're taking.
You see, I'm a big proponent of psychedelics. I would say to people, listen, everyone should do psychedelics. If everyone done DMT, everyone in the world done DMT, there'd be no more wars. Genuinely, I believe there'd be no more wars. People would know, fuck, there is something else. This is not, there's only a stopgap. Yeah. But the problem with psychedelics is, in today's culture, we are filled, like I was talking about, filled with people with trauma.
Yeah.
And people use psychedelics the wrong way. It is not about getting fucked up, dude, which is what most young people do.
Yeah.
But hey, listen, were you 18? I was 18. I know right now when I was 18, I was taking 5 acid. Whoa, fucking this is amazing. Not understanding the power of it, not understanding the dangers behind it, not understanding the benefits of it. And I've had some horrific experience. In fact, I won't do it again because I had one there 6 months ago that traumatized me. Absolutely traumatized me to the point where I'm going, I'll never do it again. Never do it, because it scared me that much.
I'm actually doing a trauma and addiction course with Queen's University at the minute online, and some of the sorry.
I'd be interested in doing something like that. That'd be very interesting.
Yeah, so some of the traits and stuff that I'm seeing on part of the course is just taking me back to teenage years, and you're just going, Jesus Christ, what was I at? And I think we all go down that sort of, I don't know about you, but I went down a destructive path of alcohol and partying for years. And at the time, I was having an unbelievable time. Some of the best days of my life. I wouldn't change it. But alcohol, it took me to 28 or 29 to realize that alcohol isn't for me. You know what I mean? And I was trying to fit in in social circles more. It's a big part of, football culture, that after your match you'll go for pints and all that there, and a few pints of Guinness and all. If I can control myself now to have that, that's fine. But you know yourself, when the adrenaline's in and the cracks are with all the boys, it leads into more and more carnage and that destructive past. And then you can't get your head out of your ass for days. It's not worth it. Totally not worth it.
No. Have you read Chasing the Scream?
I've got Johann Hari. It's next on the list to read.
It's phenomenal because if you're from a working class culture, working class background, you will have experienced, and you've done any drugs, or you've been exposed to drugs in any way, you will see the similarity to your life in these stories.
Yeah.
And at the crux of everything, people need to understand this. People don't want to look into it, but the reality is, the crux of all problems in humanity is trauma, usually childhood trauma.
Yeah.
The experience you have as children. And it goes back as far, like, I'll tell you a story. There's a girl that I knew who was a child specialist, right? But again, she was a young child specialist. She was only like 22 when she was telling me she'd only qualified. And she was telling me that I need to leave Sive to cry, and just cried out. And I tried and I did, but eventually I couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And what it made me realize was That is traumatic. That is like we're placing trauma in a 6-month-old's head. They can't process that. They don't know what's going on. They just know that they cry. They need comfort, and they're not getting it. And the Nazis done it. The Nazis done experiments of twins. They put one child in a room and just fed it, changed it, and the other one got hugged. And the one that didn't get any attention died. We are human. We need touch. That's why I love jiu-jitsu and MMA and the martial arts for kids, especially because it gets used to touching people and it gets used to human contact. Which, like, have you ever tried? Have you ever done a stern? Just meeting someone and just the way I'm looking right in the camera right now, and just hold this gaze with someone with like 6 inches from their face and say nothing and just stare into their eyes. Have you ever seen how uncomfortable people are with eye contact? You can already see this now. I can guarantee this year will be even worse because people have. It's a purposeful, in my opinion, it is purposefully done to separate the human species from each other and make us live in a world of stress. The more stress we are, the easier we are to control. The more we will relinquish.
Have you not noticed too? Have you not noticed too that there's a lot of people that would be in touch with you on Instagram and that fire you messages all the time, and then when you meet them in the street, they're awkward as fuck, and you're like, like you converse with me, you're sending them a fucking essays over a phone, but like you're struggling to hold a conversation with here. What's a cry? They almost feel a bit shifty and they want to go on. I'm like, man, like this is real life. This is how you've got to communicate with people.
I just thought it was because I was so beautiful. They were in awe. But listen, you're right. It's a weird situation we're in, where humans can't be human.
They need alcohol, or they need alcohol, or some form of relaxation tool to come out of themselves.
It's madness. It's like, I don't know what the question is, but I want to go back to psychedelics because I want to sort of clarify. I want to be very careful when I'm on these podcasts that we're not giving out, go take drugs and get fucked up, because if a 20-year-old kid who's traumatic, who's suffering from trauma, was to listen to that, they were suddenly thinking, this is my solution. And the reality is they could end up jumping off a bridge. They could end up fucking being in a really bad place and making them worse. And I think the thing about psychedelics is you've got to respect them more than any other drug on the planet.
Look, even the weed that the kids are smoking now is far too strong for them. They're smoking cheeses, and they're smoking real heavy strain indicas. And this is the problem with, again, probably going back to your book about the war on drugs. It's simply not working. We need to get some sort of structure in place where if people are going to go down the line of having a joint, taking whatever, at least it's not done by some dickhead with a fucking pill press in his guards. It's knocking out just real dodgy shit, or knocking out real high strength green. You need to know what you're taking.
Why is that like that? Let's look at the government. 100% the government's fault. There's no denying this. We now know through Portugal, through what's the South American country who's got the coolest president in the world. He lives in his house and has a tractor and still a farmer.
Venezuela, no.
No, that's not Venezuela. That's the communist country. That's
Paraguay.
Somewhere like that. They basically legalized all drugs.
It's not Colombia anyway.
No, they decriminalized all drugs, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's actually a section in that book, Chasing the Screen, that talks about, in chapter 14 or 16, there's a story about this drug user, and it's one of the most inspiring stories I've ever heard. People need to make it in a video. But what they have now learned is legal or decriminalizing drugs works only if the money that was put in the fight against drugs is then put in against to help people get off drugs, because drug is not the problem. It's the trauma. It's the escape. Now, I used to go out with a girl who worked with people who were like heroin addicts, and the reality is these guys and girls took the heroin not because they wanted to, because they wanted to escape. They wanted the pain to stop. My suicide attempts wasn't because I wanted to die. It's because I didn't want to be in the pain I wasn't anymore. Do you know, my search for meaning, search for meaning type of thing, my journey of searching is because I don't want the psychological pain I was in. And I still get those psychological pains. So my dipping into the LSD and the mushrooms and DMT has been a soul search in the event. It's been for me to try to get clarity and understanding why I feel the way I feel about myself and how can I combat that. Now, I'm lucky. I'm intelligent enough to do that, but a lot of people aren't. I haven't got the structure to help.
Emotional awareness and having that structure around you. But going back to what you were saying there about, like, can you remember in Lost Connections, Johann Hari book, that talked about the study with a rat, where they put a rat in a cage.
Yes.
And they had a water bottle filled with opiates at one side, and then a normal water bottle at the other side. So obviously the rat went over to the water with the opiates, went over to the normal water, and it realized it was in a cage by itself, had nothing to do. Realized it was getting a high off the opiate, and it continued to go back to it. Put the same rat in the cage with other rats. One bottle of opiate at one side, bottle of water at the other side. The rats had loads of shit to play with and keep them stimulated. They were running around doing what rats do, humping each other. And after one taste of the water with the opiates and one taste with the normal water, they didn't go back near the opiates the whole time. So it showed that it was all about stimulation and what you've got around you.
It was, I think it's Chasing the Scream, or it's one of Johann Hari books, can't remember, it's Chasing the Scream or Lost Connection. They talk about what do you call them? Chimpanzees. They're not chimpanzees. They're smaller than chimpanzees. Yobos or bobos. God, the name's gone out of my head. But they're basically like a small chimpanzee, very human-like. But this girl, she lived this class life. Her dad was like a scientist, and they lived in all different countries. And she studied animals, and she then went to the Congo to study. So bonobos, that's the name. So she was studying bonobos in a zoo setting, right? And they're highly sexual animals. They would make dildos, and sex was a massive part of their culture, their existence. And what she noticed was, then she went to the Congo and studied them in the wild, and she noticed the hierarchy in the wild was completely different to hierarchy in the enclosed spaces. So there was obvious depression from the bonobos. They would pull their hair out, they would rock back and forth. But she said in the wild, although you might have the lowest rung would be a wee bit down, he always had a sense of belonging. And the crux of the story was like, the bonobos and the animals are taken out of their own social environment, their own natural habitat, and they're thrust into a concrete wooden cage or whatever, metal cage. And that is what created the problem of depression. It was because they were not in their natural environment. And then you look at us, human beings, and just because we live and we've grown up in concrete jungles does not mean that is what we're meant to do on a day-to-day basis. We are meant to be in nature. We're meant to walk barefoot. We're meant to swim in the ocean, swim in the seas, climb trees, run in fields, climb mountains. That is, and that when you have this ethic of work, you need there's a great documentary, I must send you, I can't remember the name of it, but it was this wee lad, he is a parkour runner from here.
Yeah.
And he went away to Amsterdam with like, I think €3 in his pocket, and him and his mates traveled the entire of Europe, no money, living out of bins. They found out, like, if you go to the bins beside the supermarkets at the end of the night, they're throwing the stuff out. You just take, they had all these different ways of living. But he said, what that was really profound. I must find you'll love it. But one of the most profound things, this kid's only 23, 24, and he said, making a cup of coffee every day is easy. You boil the kettle, you pour it in, and you drink it. He goes like, but when we want to make a cup of coffee, we've got to get the firewood. And getting the firewood means we've got to walk into the jungle or the forest, and then we've got to bring a tree, and then we've got to cut that tree down, and then we've got to carry those branches down. Then we've got to find a way to light the fire, and then we've got to boil the water, boil the water, and then we'll get a cup of coffee. So that cup of coffee process takes maybe half an hour to 45 minutes, an hour. But then you appreciate that cup of coffee.
Greater appreciation.
And that is where we're missing. And I don't think people understand. Like I always say, the obstacle is the way. Because when you have to do these things and you're forced to put effort in to get a reward, and not just get the reward without any effort, you appreciate it. But when you don't appreciate, and then when you start not appreciating it, becomes normal, then you fear losing it.
Of course.
The thought of working actually paralyzes you, and that's where we are at society today. The fear of work, the fear of actually doing something, of putting effort in, of maybe failing. we don't want to fail. We've been conditioned that if we fail anything on social media, it's all over it and we're embarrassed and it's terrible. And this whole this society, like worldwide, is now, we're so connected, but we're so separated.
Our whole existence is just based around speed, fast food, fast relationships, instant gratification. You can change your body on an app on a phone. Everything is just fucking. It's got to the point of no return. It's gone that far that it actually might do a full three. This is my hope. My hope is that life is going to do a full 360. People are going to realize that everything that we've discovered over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years is total and utter bullshit. And we need to go back to our roots. We need to go back to connection. We need to go back to nature. And we need to go back to fucking appreciating each other for what we are, because that lifestyle that everybody is living at the minute is totally and utterly fake. And it's got us in trouble.
I think when you, if you're honest with yourself, when you see someone that you like, if you meet someone and your automatic reaction, he's a dick. Well, you need to look at that person closer, because you're probably going to find that the reason you think he's a dick is because he's got traits in his personality, or she got personality that you don't like about yourself. Mm-hmm. And what you're seeing there is you're seeing the reflection of the things you hate about yourself in that person. And that's why you don't want to be near them, because it's too close to the truth. Mm-hmm. One thing that my granddad was like my hero. He's the guy that shaped who I am today. Yeah. I always tell stories about him. But one of the things, when I lived them right up there. I was actually there the day he died. I brought him back to life, actually. He had a stroke in front of me and I brought him back. I wish I hadn't have. But he was a fit man. He was a really fit man. Died when he was 84. But him and my nanny used to fight like crazy. And I lived with the two of them, right? And I came to the point where I used to jump in between them and go, ding, ding, round one. Because the two of them fought over anything. Turn the TV around. The heating was too high. It was like 55 years of living together, One thing my granddad, and it struck me so well, is like, I said to him, Granddad, why do you just not leave each other then? If it's that bad, just leave each other. And he looked at me and he threw me a sock with a hole in it, right? And he said, see that sock, Paul? Should I throw it out? And I went, yeah. And he goes, no, I'll darn it. Do you know why? He goes, because I'm from a time where we didn't throw things out when they're broken. We fixed them. Mm-hmm. And I just was like, whoa, that is 84 years of wisdom right there, that sense. And if people had that mentality and realize that we're not fucked, we're just broken. Yep. Broken things can be fixed if we put time and effort and we want to do it. We can be fixed, and society can be fixed if we want it to be. But the problem is we don't want to put the effort in. It's easier to throw it away and try to start anew. But the new doesn't work. New's not better. Old is better this day and age, I think.
We all need to heal, and we all need to heal badly here, because I don't know about you, but I feel a bit anxious when I think far ahead, and like, you should only control the controllables. I know all that. I'm doing everything right to look after my mental health. I'm walking every day. I'm still training. I'm getting out in nature. I eat well. I sleep well. I'm not near alcohol, so I'm doing everything right. And I am still getting undertones of anxiety about the way society's going, because I know that there is that much division in it at the minute that I think a lot of it is irreversible. That's how fucking, like, that's how deep rooted some of this stuff goes.
I disagree with you there. I think what's needed is a complete change in the education system. When you get a young child, that's a blank canvas. It's us that imprints the information that forms our personality.
Yeah.
We need to heal ourselves as a society. We need to heal ourselves. And I genuinely believe the likes of ayahuasca and the plant medicines can be the actual cure. Yeah. Because ayahuasca forces you to face the demons inside yourself. And there is no escape from it. You're put there, and it's like Mother Ayahuasca makes you go deal with this shit.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a lovely utopian view of it, but the reality is sort of a much more complex one. Like, it's just
I don't think it's as easy as that, but I'm saying I don't think it's broken. I don't think it's unfixable. I think it's unfixable if we think it's unfixable. Whether it's black or whether you think you're right. You're right. It's like.
Do you think America is still fixable?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
I don't think anything is broken to the point where I think there's going to be a lot more trauma and a lot more shit happen.
No, you were saying earlier, you were saying earlier about you think that there's going to be some event that's going to get really bad or whatever is going to be big. I think I have a similar feeling to yourself. I think it could get worse here before it gets better. I think there's going to be a tipping point, and I think I don't know if it's like these mandatory vaccinations being forced on us. I don't know if it's going to be a total economy collapse. I don't know if it's going to be the extension and dragging out of COVID. I don't know what it's going to be.
I think it's going to be the paedophile element.
A what?
I think it's going to be the paedophile element will be eventually exposed. That's what I genuinely do. There's no denying. We've got Jimmy Savile, we've got Prince Andrew, we've got the fucking Aspin case, we've got Maxwell, we've got all this shit coming out. This type of stuff can't be kept, and when that comes out, I think the normal decent people, when the evidence is produced and there's no more like the media to cover it up and try to put a different slant on it.
Yeah, but then you just put fucking Love Island on TV and nobody cares about Epstein.
I don't think so, mate. I think when people actually realize they're being implicit in allowing this to happen, they'll get so angry that there will be massive. I hope so, because it's like the most evil thing in the world is to take the innocence of a young child. And there is no question about it. Now, we know 100% Jimmy Savile was a procurer of children to the royal family. They've been shown. It's been like Mountbatten. You had Lord Mountbatten. I was the other day he was blown up. Actually, I was in Mullaghmore the day he was only born. But Lord Mountbatten. You've got Prince Andrew. You've got all the questions about the royal family. You've got
you're worried. You're worried about talking about COVID, and now you're talking about the fucking royals and Peter.
I am complete. Like, listen, look at Concora House from here. Like the fucking Cyril Smith and the who do you call the prime minister back in the his name's gone.
Have you watched Jimmy Savile on the Ninth Circle on YouTube?
On YouTube, I thought there was one. There was one coming out.
Was it when Heath was in charge? Is that who you're on about?
Heath, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Like, This is fact. This is not conspiracy. There's no denying this. And then you look down in America, like you look at the way America happened. There is no, like, you can deny it all you want, but the reality is there's always been an elite pedophile ring. Forget about Pizzagate. I'm not going down that route. I'm talking about the actual reality. We know
starts with royalty, goes to government, politicians, then it works its way down to top societal members of lawyers and police officers, and that's how the system goes.
What's the best method of control?
Fear.
Get one of them. I'm talking about the elites. Get one of them on camera abusing.
Yes. And that's what Epstein was a genius at doing that. Like,
absolutely, fucking scumbag. But here, he knew what he was doing.
And your woman, Ghislaine Maxwell, too. Like, what's ever happened to her? She's dead.
She's singing like a bird. Apparently, I've been following quite. There's a guy called Sean Atwood on YouTube who's pretty clued into this stuff. Like, I'm not going to go down too deep the rabbit hole in this thing, but
it's Israeli intelligence stuff, isn't it? Mossad.
I've gone deep in this, and it's why I'm so like, we need to sort it out, because there is an element of that. I know we went tangent down the rabbit hole there, but the reality is, no, but these are the people that make policies. These are the people that dictate what happens, and they dictate that because there's people above them telling them what to do. So there's a narrative being fed down, and we're going to hear what they want us to hear. And
if you put in your subtext here what this podcast entails, feminization of males, monkeys with dildos, and royal pedophilia.
It's here. We're covering all topics here, mate. There's nothing hidden in this podcast.
Oh.
But something, the topics need to be talked about, because the topics that get conversations going, whether you believe it or not, it's still a conversation. And that's what I'm trying to tell people. Conversations need to happen in order for us to expand our thoughts, expand our minds. And that is what's happening today. We're not allowed to have conversations. We're not allowed to have our own opinion. We're allowed to have a narrative that the government approve of, that the social media platforms and mainstream media approve of. And if you don't have that, you're a quack.
They're shutting down critical thinking.
Well, that's the problem. They don't want critical thinking. If you're telling me you do not believe there's a communist state coming, then you're insane. Communism is happening, and it's like you can actually see there's so much evidence to show like the structures of the way, like my mate Martin, the guy who's like, he lived in communist Czech Republic. You know Martin, don't you?
The bushcraft dude.
Yeah, he lived in Czech Republic in communism. He remember the times all the communism was in control. They had fuck all. He is saying that, and I know another guy, Mark Rand, he's the same guy, and the same type of person. They lived in communist rule, and these socialists, these young socialists who think that this socialist ideal is the way forward. It's democratic socialism is what I would like to think I am. If you're earning millions, pay the taxes trickle down to society, the less well off, and that makes a happier society. Happier society is less traumatic society, which means a more productive society, which means we're going to have more money overall, and everyone's going to feel like they belong. What we have at the moment is the top down, the top 1%, and that's what communism is. Communism may be saying like a socialist ideal, but it's not. It's like the leaders get everything and the plebs get fuck all. And that's where we're heading. The communist, the CCP is the way, look at China, the way China's being run today. That's what we're looking forward to in the next 10 years if we don't fuck our acts up.
Do you reckon we're heading towards universal credits here very soon?
Fuck me, what do you think furlough's about? Here, take 80% of your wage, but don't work the job you hate. That job is putting you under stress. Like you never see your kids, your wife and you never have a relationship. Here, take the 80%. Listen, we're going to go down to 66%. I know it's a bit tough, but you've already adapted to the 80%, so it's not too far. And besides, what do you spend your money on? Next thing you know, you're still not working that job. You're still not in that job you hate. The next step, don't worry about your job. Here's your basic universal income. By the way, get the job. Take that job. There you go. You'll get it. Oh, you want to go? Take your job. You can already see it. It's not going to be compulsory, but you're not going to get this certificate.
You're losing
vaccination ID. I want to point out that I said that in May, and I was laughed at. Boris Johnson said it yesterday, 2 days ago.
No, I've just posted about it on my Instagram tonight. He says this is the stuff that conspiracy theorists were laughed at a year ago, and now it's coming to fruition. Well, he says it's open for discussion this week in Parliament. So not only would you need a vaccine passport to travel, you're going to need vaccine identification to get on the concerts and sporting events. Like that's fucking.
But for me, that's a first world problem. Like I'll never see a concert again. Fuck, how terrible. I'll still have my DNA intact. That'll be me happier. I won't go on holiday. Okay, no problem. I've got a camper van. I'll just drive. Can't get insurance. Fuck you. I'll drive illegally. Go fuck yourself.
I'm the same with a camper. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll miss elements to that there, but I'm going to sit tight and see how all this plays out because shit's going to hit the fan. It has to.
I will never get the vaccine. I will tell you that right now. I'll say that I would rather die than be told what I have to do with my own body.
Exactly.
If I die, then it's my decision to die.
I'm going to leave a message on my Instagram stories tomorrow once that poll's up. Now, I put a poll up on Instagram basically saying, do you feel that vaccines should be mandatory for travel or for concerts and stuff like that? Now, how fucked up is the world that people like me and you are being told that we are a strain on the health service and the NHS, and when we have looked after our bodies our whole lives and we have built strong and healthy communities. That is the whole purpose. That's our whole mission statement, is to build healthy people. But now we are deemed a threat to the rest of society because we have built our immune systems up the natural way.
My only real thing about the NHS is I have got a hip replacement. But I've been working since I was 18. So I've been paying taxes. So I've paid for it myself.
On another story, Matt Hancock fucking hands millions to his mates.
Exactly.
PPE for a company that's never dealt in PPE in their life, but yet that's not being talked about. But it's the likes of me and you that are walking into shops that maybe aren't wearing a mask. We're going in to grab a coffee, but we're the vermin, the society at the minute. It's nuts, man. So
tell me this, right? We've been bitching about it, we've been ranting and getting it off our chest. What's the solution? How do we get society back into a place where, like, this has been a year of fear, right? A year of just the same message. And they've shown that there was at Russia in the 60s, done an experiment, 2 months. It took 2 months of the same message to brainwash the masses. So this has been a 12-month job of fear. Now, do you remember back in this time last year, we were seeing photographs of China of healthy young men with masks lying dead in the street. That's what we thought was coming. So before even lockdown happened, we were getting this message, this ideal of what our ideas are, of what was coming to us. It had me shitting myself. I thought my mom and dad were going to die. I was thinking I was going to die. I was like, fuck, I am 43, I'm 42, 43. I'm come that age. There's guys I hear, they're healthy or dying. We were told this lie.
We're all the same. We're all the same. But we get ourselves, my plan doesn't change. My plan is the same as what it's always been. It goes back to our point earlier on, talking about virtue signaling and worrying about what's going on in America and what's going on over in England. The emphasis for me is always going to be on myself, number one, and my family. Look after my own tribe. We're talking about a tribe. So if I can keep myself fit, then I'm fit for purpose. If I can instill good traits in my family, if I'm lucky enough to have children, and my friend circle, and then in my gym and my wider community and the stuff that I'm doing with South Shore, why are all these people that are all these social justice warriors, why are they not getting involved in stuff that's happening in their own community? They can make such an effort to get people around them fit and healthy. So my plan's not going to change. My plan is going to keep it localized. Get everybody, get as many people as I can in a positive frame of mind and a good healthy body. And if it goes further, then and you help someone that wants to go into politics, or you want, so be it. But right now, the focus should be on what's around you, not worrying about what's going on in America and the wider world.
The reason why people aren't doing what you're saying they're doing is because it's easier to just have a wee bitch on Facebook. It makes you feel better. It's again, it comes down to, if everyone would look inside themselves and seen their own faults instead of pointing out everyone else's faults, this world would be a lot happier.
Yeah.
If we were able to take criticism and not be offended by it, not be hurt by it, and actually go inside ourselves and wonder, well, why did that word trigger me? Why did that, what he said or she said, why did it make me so angry? Why did I get so emotional about that?
Would we have a supposed global pandemic if we all took accountability and responsibility for our own lives and we kept ourselves in reasonable shape? You only need to look at the correlation between obesity and the death rate.
Why are the government's not pushing this health message? Why, like in a full year, in a solid year, when we know that this virus will mostly affect people who have mostly killed people with on average 2.6 other elements,
underlying issues,
obesity, etc. And a lot of these illnesses, by the way, are lifestyle illnesses, curable illnesses, they can be manageable illnesses. Why was there no push towards getting people healthy? Like, the government could have quite easily pushed everyone, get you outside, get walking, get fit. Here's incentives to do this. There was no incentive to get fit. There's been no incentive to get fit. Why don't the government, instead of pumping all this thousands and billions in the NHS to combat the obesity epidemic or pandemic, actually, this is worldwide?
It's simple, because there wouldn't be as much fear, and without fear, there's no control.
And you mean there's also not business for the big pharma, because there's no money made in healthy people. And this, like,
actually, you don't need.
Why can't people see this? What is, like, what am I saying? Like, I sometimes question. Do you ever find yourself questioning yourself because of the madness? You're going like, am I the crazy one?
Yep.
And then you look back and go like, but you're not, because the governments could quite easily solve this problem if they put better education in the schools, better healthcare in the schools, made sure that the kids that need the food get the food and get the support. Like, when the single mother parents are forced to go to, did you watch that Spotlight the other night? And your woman had to choose between £14 between electricity or heat. What the fuck? We live in a society, 21st century, and in a civilized world, and there's single mothers couldn't go to a hospital appointment because they couldn't afford the petrol or the 3 days isolation when she went there.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm the conspiracy theorist for pointing this out.
No. And it's it's getting the health service in trouble. It's the isolation rules and the rules around COVID. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure the hospitals come sort of winter time, they're always busy, and if you add the pandemic on top of it, it's only magnified it. But the amount of stupid rules that have kept perfectly healthy doctors and nurses and healthcare staff away from sick patients is a disgrace.
I can think of at least six doctors and nurses who have told me privately that they disagree with everything, it's bullshit, but
I-
they can't say it, because if they do, they're going to lose their job.
I'm the same. The amount of people that have said, the amount of people have messaged me on Instagram saying, I completely agree with you. I wish I could speak out against this, but they're being gagged. They're being gagged.
They can, and I've actually said to them all, I said, well, do you know something? You're complicit in this problem, because I get it, your job and all this stuff, but if every one of you in this industry have that opinion, then the government narrative is going to be pushed. If all the doctors and all the nurses and all the things came out and said, there's people down, but it's not like that. The reason the NHS is overrun is because it's been underfunded for 10 years.
Yeah.
More than 10 years. Like, this is a government, and this is a man-made problem. That we can't deny this. You're trying to say the virus is like a natural occurrence. I don't believe that virus is naturally occurring, by the way. I think it's manipulated. But that's my personal opinion. I'll put that out there. That's my personal opinion based on what I've learned. But the reality is, we have got a virus. We have got an issue here. And we have got an underfunded government that is underfunded NHS that's purposely being underfunded, and now we're reaping the fucking problem.
Yeah, you know? It's a deflection politics. The blame has been put onto the working man and woman, and the government. The government just can't accept it, and they never will. And that's what's annoying me, because it's like what you said earlier, Paul. It's about divide and conquer. They've managed to flip the coin, so everyone on the streets are turned against each other. This has caused more division than what the Troubles ever has.
What I find really crazy is people are saying, the government are using this like, listen, we're all in this together, all these sound bites, build back better, in this together, stay safe, wash your hands, all this type of stuff. The future, they're painting a picture of, if we all come together, we will get through this and we will be stronger for it, blah, blah, blah. But we know we're not going to be. But the reality is, if we all came together and we all loved each other the way we love our children, the way we love our parents, the way we love our wife or husband, if we all treated strangers the exact same way, this society would not be the way it is today.
Yeah.
The problem is, we hate other people because we've been taught to hate these people. And then we mistrust these people. But if you...
Alaska.
Here, I can't wait. I'm doing it in April or May. I'm going to do it in April or May. I can't wait to do it. I really want to experience this. I'm going to do 3 journeys and see how fucking fucked up my head really is. I'll come back and I'll be kissing everyone, fucking hugging everyone. Fuck the COVID rules. I'll be giving everyone hugs and, hey man, I love you. But that's the thing. I know that my problems are within me. You're not the problem. The people I'm fighting on Facebook isn't the problem. The problem is they hate themselves and I hate myself, and we're clashing, and we're not able to, like, see the way we're engaging, even though it's on a screen. We're able to talk, we're able to listen, and if we disagree, it doesn't matter, because it's conversation. The problem is on Facebook, when you're a wee keyboard warrior and you're like, fuck, you're an asshole. If you had it, see if you knew that you were going to have to say what you wrote on Facebook to the person's face. I guarantee you would not fucking write half that stuff. Exactly. I can guarantee it. Because there's too many guys out there. Too many guys out there have never been punched in the face. That's the problem. We're in a society where you can't. Oh, fucking! What it's like you go to hit someone. You're like, go ahead, I dare you, hit me. Like, the good thing about punching someone in the face was it was done. You're from fighting background like I am. When someone done your tits in the gym, you made sure you sparred that person. And you fucking maybe went about 30-40% harder on each other. But afterwards, you smiled and laughed because you both knew you were getting fucked off at each other, and that got the aggression gone, got rid of everything. And you could see the person for who they were again, and all the bullshit you'd built up in your own head had disappeared.
Good old fashioned straightener or good solid grappling rounds is hard to beat, because it gets all that negative energy out of you, and you know what I mean? It's left in the gym.
How many times have you honestly, just curious, how many times have you really had something against someone in the gym? Just they're grating on you, it's like they're the whole time, and you end up either he beats the shit out of you beat the shit out of each other, or it's a real close fight. But at the end of it, you just sort of smirk and laugh because you both know.
It's just mutual respect.
Yeah.
Fist
There was one guy, before my hip replacement, one guy was slobbering like fucking me, and I'm not going to mention his name, wouldn't do that, but he'd done my tits in, and I just lost the plan. I went, fuck it, right in the cage now. I took him down, and I punched. I got so angry, And afterwards, I got out of the kitchen. Right, that's it done. We were friends again. He laughed. He was like, "Fuck, I don't think we're going to do that." And I was like, "Fuck, you've been doing my tits in." But that punch and that beating, it was able to get it out. We were able to sort that out, and we were laughing our head off 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
Because we got rid of the aggression, but the energy had changed, and that's what people need to understand. The way our society's built today, it's holding everyone in a place of stress and fear. And we could just quite easily get rid of it if everyone just punched each other in the face. That's just walk around, fuck you. But you know what I mean?
Punch each other first and then go and do ayahuasca together.
Controlled aggression. Yeah. Controlled, and like where you can get rid of that. You can take it out in the person that you believe's causing the problem. They're willingly doing that, but it's not like you're bullying them. And there's always a way out. Tap, I'm out. It's done. I submit. The egos are beaten, the egos are dissolved, and you'll probably have a bit of clarity in your mind going, fuck, I was a dick. And a lot of times I've actually, like that time I done that guy, 10 minutes later I apologized because I knew that it was me, him just getting at me. What he was doing was he was pushing me, going, you're shite. I fucking, like, just call me, dodgeball, it's like the guy says he could dodge a spanner in the wheelchair. That's what he was slagging me, and it was just driving me insane because I couldn't grapple. And I was like, fuck. But I know that was me letting my anger get over him. So I apologized to him. But he was pushing me to the point where he wanted me to bite him, where he wanted me to bite. So, but it was sorted. And that's what I'm trying to get at people.
That's it.
You can sort things out. But anything else there? We'll just leave it there, mate. That was a good hour and a half talking.
I'm happy enough, man. That was a rabbit hole after rabbit hole there, like.
Here, I told you, I did say this. This is going to go fucking one or two ways. It went the second way.
You were encouraging me to smoke a joint beforehand too.
Well, I have whiskey, so I thought myself you need to do something. But Darragh, mate, thank you very much for coming on. That was a great chat, and I'll get you on Monday another day. I'd like to talk more maybe about your business next time on. I'd like to talk more about how the business is going and the way.
If we ever get opened again?
What?
If we ever get opened again?
Oh, we'll get open, mate. Don't you worry. It's happening. It's happening. Until the 11th of April, and we're told it's going to be until May again. What do you see?
Yeah.
But, mate, thank you very much. That was a great chat.
No
and
worries.
I'll speak to you soon. Okay, buddy?